turn that off so I see everybody. And I would like to welcome everybody to a premiere here, really. First of all, of course, our speaker from Valians, Cédric Fromont, Irena, also from the Chamber of Commerce, and our group that wants to listen in. It's a new initiative. My name is Oliver Bertschinger. I'm the President and Managing Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Switzerland, Central Europe. And it's a new initiative in a way that came a bit spontaneously, but we would maybe love to share important know-how of our broad membership that we have, starting with Valians and Cédric, who have been a member for the last 2-3 years now, and we have done also projects together in sourcing. And sourcing in Central Eastern Europe is, of course, always a big topic and important for Switzerland. And this is why we're going to kick off this new idea, this SEC Member Insights today with Cédric. Before we start, I just wanted to very quickly go back to this slide. And the rules are very similar to the CEE Swiss Impulse session. So I see most of you know the Impulse sessions, and this is, of course, a very similar approach which should inspire you and connect you now in this sense for the topic of sourcing. The speech of Cédric will be around 25 to 30 minutes. You're very open and also welcome to ask questions. Now, since you are on mute and you don't have video by the system, you can write it either in the chat or the Q&A button at the bottom, and at the end we will answer those questions and get into a discussion mode. We will try to end on time, which is 11:45. If there is still a good discussion happening, of course, we will do longer. Use the chat functions if you want to say something that you know and you find very valuable for the others to know. You can tell them where you're from. You can say hi. You can tell anything interesting about sourcing or anything else you want to share. And yeah, so this is in principle it. You will receive probably slides. We will have discussed this. You cannot rewatch the session on YouTube. I forgot to take that out because there will be information about clients and the experiences of Cédric, so that it's very relevant, and we're not going to put that on the internet. But you can definitely get some slides. Now, I also wanted to take the opportunity to tell you a little bit what's coming next. For SEC, we are entering the always very busy last end of the year, and our highlight will be the CEE Day on the 16th of September with a great lineup of speakers. We're going to talk about an important topic, I think, right now, where with all the geopolitics, Central Eastern Europe is a little bit in the middle, and it's being torn left and right, and we ask ourselves, quo vadis, Central Eastern Europe? And we do have the former CIO of Credit Suisse speaking. We have Ambassador Greminger speaking, talking about how he sees the geopolitical situation. We have success stories of Novartis, of Zülke, of Dacomed, and we will have a panel. We've now also confirmed the new ambassador of Croatia joining us, and there will be 2-3 more speakers being announced very soon. So that is definitely going to be a super cool event at the Zunfthaus zu Schmiden. And the last slide that I have is really, all events that we're going to have. We will have a Slovak-Swiss business get-together for people that are very into the Slovakian-Swiss business circles. You can join us on September 11th. It's an invitation-only event, so you need to apply for it, but you can always write me. Then the CEE Day, then in October, we might have a business get-together for Poland, but maybe not. on November 11th, we will be in Skopje for a VIP event and a doing business in Switzerland event in Macedonia. We will have on November 18th a next lunch or evening event that's going to talk about innovation versus regulation with the president of FINMA. FINMA is basically the financial authority of Switzerland in terms of banking, and she will talk. And then our big IT event will happen on November 28th or 24th or December 3rd. Don't take me too serious on this one. So anyway, talk too long, but it's been a first initiative, so I always talk a little bit too long. Now let me introduce you to Cédric. Now, Cédric is a French national, right? Living in Poland for many, many years. He is based in Krakow. And for more than 20 years, Cédric has been advising and supporting managers, companies, and institutions in their international expansion across Poland, but all across Eastern and Central Eastern Europe region. And under his leadership, which of Valians, which he just told me he bought 100%. So he started it in a partnership, but now he owns it himself. He is advising over 150 projects per year and bringing over 900 companies to the region. And we have been working with him for many, many years. Even back in my times at SG, we already worked with Cédric. And so he's really a trusted and very knowledgeable expert on this. And in this instance, he's also our trusted expert for sourcing that we always use if SEC gets to do a sourcing project. So today we'll share his deep insights on sourcing and manufacturing opportunities in the CEE countries. Very happy to have you, Cédric. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Oliver, and hello to everyone. Very happy to be here. Thank you for these initiatives. Just before I introduce a few words more about myself, I just see that Louis is online. Now, this initiative also came from Louis, who's representing SEC in Romandy, as we were discussing about how to also to promote the SEC in Romandy. Maybe Louis, you I don't know if you have your mic on, but you want to say a few words before I take on, or?
Yeah, thank you, Cédric. We have started SEC in Romandy nearly 1 year ago, on 26th of August last year. The idea is to have more connection made for the French-speaking part of Switzerland in the frame of SEC CEE. And Cédric was proposing to have a session more dedicated to SEC Romandy. This is not exactly how it happened, but it is the first step of this initiative here. And Cédric, I thank you for that. And I'm waiting to hear all your good experiences that you want to share with us.
Thank you, Louis. Yeah, and indeed, because obviously, as Oliver mentioned, I'm French, so we had this idea about developing more the Romandy part of Switzerland to promote, to help these companies to expand, to explore opportunities in Eastern Europe. But as we are partner also of SEC for many years now, as Oliver mentioned, we wanted to enlarge this webinar to anyone that's interested in as a member of SEC, but we're happy to support initiatives in Romandy. So just a few words about myself. Oliver mentioned I'm French. I've been in Poland for over 20 years now, based in Krakow. I'm the managing partner of Valians International. We are conducting advisory and support services in Central Eastern Europe for many years now, for 20 years for myself. And have a team here in Poland, and especially the focus of today is sourcing and manufacturing in CEE countries, because we act over 3 main areas: export services, sourcing services, and investment services. And a big part of it is sourcing investment, where I conduct over between 30 and 50 projects every year for foreign companies that want to set up manufacturing operations in Eastern Europe. And with me today, you can see Bartłomiej Błąski. He's our project director, more in charge of industrial projects and sourcing projects. So I wanted to have him on board also. And he would be happy to participate at the end if you have any questions, because he's the one really hands-on also on this sourcing project in Eastern Europe.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
So just as a background, so I'll share my screen now, and we can start. Basically, okay, hope you can see my screen. Yes, okay, so I can start.
Yes.
So basically, as I said, we conduct over 30 to 50 projects of sourcing, manufacturing operation in Eastern Europe. So here, just to find the right definition, we will speak today about sourcing, identifying suppliers, subcontractors, manufacturers, but also potentially setting up your own facilities, greenfield, brownfield, or acquisition. Although the main focus will be probably on the mostly on the sourcing and subcontracting operations, but I'll try to cover the whole scope. Our clients are mostly SME companies, middle size, half size. We have also some big groups, like we did some sourcing operation for groups like SEB or other groups, but most of our clients are SMEs that need to find secure solution in Eastern Europe for their sourcing and subcontracting operation. So first of all, just as background, why sourcing in CEE? All the clients and companies that come to us, when initially they have these four major reasons to come to Eastern Europe. First of all, lower labor cost and production costs. So obviously here it depends on industry, depends on sectors, depends on companies and countries. But I would say in general, we see between 10 and 50% of lower costs, production cost and labor costs comparing to Western Europe. But you have to consider that also it's higher cost than Asia, obviously, in most cases. And these costs are rising also in many countries in Eastern Europe. We have between 5-10% of increase in wages every year for the last few years, because these countries are developing. Secondly, the second driver is obviously proximity to European markets, which is obviously key for a lot of our clients. We have two typology of clients for sourcing in Eastern Europe: the ones that are already manufacturing currently in Western Europe and they want to find operation in Eastern Europe. But we also have quite a lot of clients sourcing in Asia and that want to find an alternative closer to Europe, closer to their markets. And obviously, if you are located in Eastern Europe, you are quite close to Germany, to Switzerland, to France, and to all these markets. This is obviously key at the moment, especially for the last 5 years with COVID, with tariffs, with war in Ukraine, so on. Regionalization and securing of supply chain is key, and having operation based in Eastern Europe offers this opportunity to be closer to your European operations. The third point is the Made in Europe appeal and carbon reduction. Obviously, the Made in Europe is very important for manufacturers of B2C, consumer goods, retail. So we have quite a lot of clients that need to have this Made in Europe, and in many countries in Eastern Europe, you can offer this solution. And last but not least, the long tradition, the four drivers of this manufacturing operation in Eastern Europe is a very long tradition, industrial base and skilled workforce in these countries. So obviously, many of these countries were, due to their history, they have history in both for communism, but after communism also have developed a lot of heavy industry, mining, ArcelorMittal is investing a lot in here, and also automotive, and a lot of sectors are very strong. So we have a very long tradition of industry in these countries, and also skilled workforce, not only mechanicals or technical, but also engineers. A lot of engineers work for Google and other big IT corporations. And that's where you have a big mix of a lot of different qualified laborers in these countries. That being said, I want to try today to show you a kind of roadmap on what's the best practices and how to source and manufacturing in CE countries. First of all, I think the most important is to understand the region. We have first point you can see on the screen now, Eastern Europe is not one country. It's different countries with different culture, different level of maturity, different level of industrial hotspot, and even within each country you have different regional hotspot. I'm saying that because it's very often something that, especially companies that source for many years in Asia, in China, are used to source in one country, which is China, but then come to Eastern Europe and say, okay, I want to find suppliers in Eastern Europe, thinking it's going to be the same. It's very different. Each country has different maturity. Some of them are in EU, some of them are not in EU, some of them are more mature, some of them are more less mature. Some of them have very close logistics and easy logistics to Western Europe. Some of them have more difficult logistics, and that's something we need to consider as a beginning when you want to operate in Eastern Europe. I just show you here a very rough map that we had a few years ago about the major industry. Obviously, that's not an exhaustive list, but you can see the different industries, trends in each country, where you can find different operations. So the first step, I'm going to different steps on how to efficiently, according to our experience, efficiently source and manufacture in Eastern Europe. First of all, and it's very key, I think that's the first one, the basic is to really clearly define your criteria and their level of importance also. And this is very crucial, actually, based on our experience on the success of the sourcing and manufacturing operation. So you have different types of criteria. Obviously, if you want to set up your own manufacturing operation, it's going to be criteria like business environment, labor cost, access, supply chain, logistics, real estate, and so on. If you want to go for subcontracting, acquisition projects, obviously you really need to go through all the different criteria of your potential partners. And this, we spend quite a long time, and Bartek is here, my colleague, to testify on that, but we spend a very long time with our clients to go very deep into that, because that's where the success is key. For some of our clients, we can go between 50 to 100 criteria, even to go into very deep detail, depending on the level of qualification that we need. But that's for this type of project, it's very crucial. And what you need to consider also, as I mentioned on the right side, is do not forget the intangible criteria, what we call the intangible criteria, and that you can see some of them here, the cultural fit. Sometimes you might have some cultural fit, and some of our clients are very put a lot of effort on that. For example, one of the Swiss company that we have for many years now we help them with their sourcing operation. They do kitchen, stainless steel kitchen. He couldn't testify today, but he was happy to share his comment on that. And actually, his decision on how to choose which he was hesitating between different countries where he should manufacture the operation in Europe, and he was thinking about Spain, Greece, Portugal, and Eastern Europe. And the fit was for Eastern Europe because he had some experience with Poland and Czech Republic, and he had some fit with the cultural environment. And that's also very important in the decision process. That's where the success also starts, because you need to have this cultural fit. The management autonomy also is very different from one country to another. If you want for some companies, suppliers that are very more autonomous in terms of management, you will need to go to specific countries. Some other countries in the south of Europe are maybe less autonomy in terms of management. So these type of criteria are very important. And as I said, for some of them, we can analyze very deep into details these criteria, and that's where you need to put a lot of efforts in your start. Then based on that, you need to define obviously the market potential, identify the best countries and best industrial hotspots based on your key criteria. So here there are different cases. For example, as I mentioned, for SEB, the big group, we were analyzing the different countries in Eastern. They wanted to locate part of the production, some specific products here in other regions in the world, and we analyzed different criteria. And based on the hotspots and the key industries in white goods, electronics, and so on, we advised on which country should be the focus on the analysis. The big mistake is to go for the whole countries altogether, because I said you have different culture, different language, different manufacturing operation, different skills, and that's very important to focus on the key market that will provide the highest chances to perform your operations based on the different criteria, the supply chain, the existing base of manufacturers, but obviously the skills, the laborers. And in here you have an example for one of our projects in the lighting industry. One of the clients, a Belgian company, an SME, has operation in Ukraine, and they wanted to relocate at the start of the war in Ukraine. They wanted to relocate potential operation in other countries in Europe, and you analyze different countries in the region. And we ended up with few regions that you can see here on the map where we put the focus and the effort. That was based on approximately 50 criteria, from labor access to labor cost, risk management, political environment, business environment, and so on. And that's where you really, these analyses can be very short, and then we can provide obviously this advice at a high level, but we can dive very deep into the analysis if we want to make sure for specific strategic project like greenfield, brownfield, or acquisition project. The third step for once you have identified your areas where to manufacture or to identify suppliers is to identify your subcontractors or your targets. And here what you need to consider is in many countries in Eastern Europe, you have very limited existing databases. Very often we limited also on trade shows, limited agents. And that's where it all starts, because very often our clients just ask us, okay, we're going to find manufacturers of this type of part or plastic injection molders or something. And you don't have very existing databases and relevant trade shows in the region. And that's very different. For example, our clients compared to China, and they have this content fair, and they can find a lot of suppliers in catalogs, and they can choose from them. In Eastern Europe, you can't find that, and even if you find that in one country, it's not necessarily the same level in every country. So you need to benchmark and to create your own local base of potential suppliers, and that's where we rely a lot of local networks and customized research. We spend quite a lot of time in reaching out to all our multipliers, contacts, clusters, association, organizations, manufacturing operators, but also HR agencies. Sometimes we want to analyze the cost and the labor access and so on. And that's very time consuming. That's something a lot of clients do not anticipate when they start their sourcing operation in Eastern Europe, thinking that it will be very fast and easy to identify a supplier, but that takes quite a lot of time to go through that and to make sure they are reliable. And we'll come back to the next stage. But that's where we put our efforts, a lot of efforts analyzing. Bartek, my colleague here, can testify on that, but that's where we spend a lot of energy using our own networks. And if you don't have these own networks in the region, that's very difficult to identify the right suppliers. And then the next step was you have your long list of suppliers. Which usually you create a long list of suppliers, and then you need to go into the qualification process. If you are in sourcing of finished products, RFQs and cost comparison are enough. So you just send your request for proposal, and you get some feedback from the companies that you identified. In here, in many cases, local language would be recommended. Also in English, it should be enough in many cases. When we speak about finished products, usually most of the I would call the sales people in each company would speak a good level of English. So it should be okay, but in many cases you also need some local language assistance. Then if you go for industrial subcontracting and manufacturing, you need to go through all these criteria that I mentioned earlier. So for this lighting industry, this lighting company, outdoor lighting company that I mentioned earlier, we had, I think, over 50 criteria, and we need to validate all of them. So organization, production capacity, language, experience, certification, and so on and so on. And if you go to all these criteria, then you definitely need your local language is required, as it will be very difficult to do that in English or in other language. And as I say, do not neglect intangible criteria. We have a lot of cases where the level of responsiveness, the level of ability, of autonomy play a crucial role here. Because I have an example of one company a few years ago, a French company in plastic industry for bathroom. They were sourcing mostly in China. Then the COVID situation came. They wanted to relocate production in Eastern Europe. We identified companies in Poland, more specifically. And one of the companies we found was not directly a producer manufacturer of this product, but they were very reactive. They wanted, very motivated for this challenge, and they decided to invest themselves in new production tool, which cost, I think, 500,000 euros or something like this. But thanks to that, they invested, and they're very responsive, very reactive. And our client decided to continue with them, even though they didn't have experience in this specific product. And at the end of the day, they succeeded, and they moved 4 million of their production, which was based in China, to Poland. So very strategic move. With at the beginning, company that did not fit all the criteria, but they had this motivation, they had this flexibility, and that was a key role in this key criteria in this relationship. And I think that's where what you need to consider also for your criteria. Then once you have all of that, all the qualification and the process, then obviously you need to benchmark and evaluate all these suppliers. And one key attention here is do not consider, I would advise to consider the total landed cost versus the unit price. Saying that specifically for the companies that do already manufacture in China or in Asia, for example, and they ask us to find suppliers or find subcontractors in Eastern Europe. And obviously, at the end of the day, that's the final price after quotation is much higher than what they have in China. But obviously, we will not change that. Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, and all of them are still more expensive than China. But that's where you need to consider all the different criteria that I mentioned earlier. So obviously, logistics, autonomy, flexibility, reactivity, closeness to European markets. You can fly to Poland, Romania, whatever, in 2 hours, while in China, obviously, you need to consider other hidden costs. And that's where you need to make a real analysis on what's the key objective of your operations here in Eastern Europe. And you need also to ensure alignments on the objective within all the team. We had examples of companies that were producing also in China, and they wanted to relocate in Eastern Europe. And the managing the board was very concentrated on moving this production here to secure and to have the global manufacturing operation here in Eastern Europe. But then they dedicated that to they delegated that to the purchase department. Obviously, the objective of the purchase department is not to have the full picture, is to have the cheapest product. And then at some stage it didn't work because they compared to what they had in China, and they didn't understand why they should change to Poland or to Romania or to Bulgaria or whatever. And then it creates conflict, and then we don't move forward. So this is very important that the whole company is aligned in terms of objectives and within the team. The next step is the visits, obviously, in-person visits, and we definitely consider to invite you to come in person to visit and to see the country, obviously, and to see the manufacturing operations. Also, online meetings can obviously are very feasible, but that's an initial step, obviously, to come in person. makes a big difference. We have this example of this plastic company that I mentioned earlier in the bathroom. It was during the COVID when you couldn't travel, and actually they decided to, despite the restrictions and so on, to come and to travel and to visit this company, this Polish company suppliers. And they were very active, and they came in person, and that changed also the whole situation where the Polish manufacturers see that there was a lot of motivation, and they could start collaboration. You need to consider also that, again, Eastern Europe is not one country, as I say, so a lot of travel time, going from north of Poland to the south of Moldova, Bulgaria, whatever, it takes a lot of time. We have Genox, this Swiss company that Bartek was helping a few months ago. They were traveling a few days in Poland, also one day in Bulgaria, and they did 2-3 different trips because you can't do one whole trip for the whole region. It takes a lot of time. So you need to consider that also when you visit your different suppliers. And again, do not underestimate cultural differences. You do not work the same way with a Polish or Lithuanian manufacturer than a Romanian or Serbian manufacturer. So you need to really anticipate that and to be really advised and accompanied for this support. Once you have identify the right partners and finalize the first collaboration, it's very important to monitor quality, manage onboarding, especially usually for suppliers or subcontractors that are more located in the south of Eastern Europe, so countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova, Balkans. In many cases, they need more coaching, assistance, follow-up, and so on. While in Poland, Lithuania, Hungary, Romania, Czech Republic, Slovakia, usually you have more matured companies that are more used to work with Western Europe or with international companies. But anyway, you need to really monitor and follow up because they are solicited by a lot of companies, not only you, and they work with many different clients in Germany, in France, and others. So if you don't show motivation and follow up, they will probably not be engaged. You also need to be very reactive when they ask some more information, again, to send your plans and your specs and any information that they need for their operation, and then they are very good in executing that. And also it's recommended to use local staff or interim managers if needed. We had few cases. One company, IV Technology, which is packaging for electronics and so on. They had operations in Poland, but they were not happy with the way that the manufacturing and the purchasing was happening. So Bartek and the team took the project on, and we changed the whole supply chain, identifying new suppliers and new subcontractors. And we put one interim manager for 3 months, helping them to work inside and to optimize this supply chain. We managed to have some savings at 1.5 million euros after 1 year of having this operation. Also another company, a Belgian company, napkins production, they have a plant here in Poland, and also again, they were not happy with the effectiveness of that, and we did a whole audit of the management and the production operations, and we changed the whole organization, and we put in place a new person that co-organized all the production process, the production flow. So that's also something you need to consider if you want to ensure long-term operation. Finally, some key takeaways here. So first of all, as I said, you need to consider CEE as a good compromise between manufacturing in Asia and in Eastern Europe. So you have the advantage of having usually a lower cost, which is not always the same. Sometimes you have even higher cost like in Western Europe, but in many cases you have lower cost if you manage to find the right suppliers. But with the closeness of Europe instead of being in Asia, which is still cheaper. Secondly, as I said, you need to take this operation as very strategic operation and not reactive. The few cases of our client that were not successful in sourcing in Eastern Europe were because many cases The management was not involved, the board was not involved, it was only the purchasing department that wanted to buy cheaper in Eastern Europe, and that doesn't work. They were not ready to have specification or very detailed criteria, and they just said, okay, we have this product produced in China, we want it in Eastern Europe. That doesn't work. We need specification criteria, a lot of work on that. And this needs to be a very long-term reflection if you want to be successful here. As I said, top management involvement and alignment with all the team. I mentioned that earlier. Also, you need to treat CEE as a long-term manufacturing location for European operations. That's what I said earlier. That's an important alternative if you want to reach out to Europe and if you want to. Especially in the current situation where you regionalize and secure your operation in each main continent, with the tariffs in US and so on, it's important to have a long-term operation in Eastern Europe for this operation, and you can reach very easily the French, German, and Swiss and other markets from here. And also, what's interesting is to consider a dual approach. With some of our clients, we first concentrate on having manufacturing operations here, and then sales expansion, because these are growing markets also. So, for example, a Belgian company, mid-sized company, that we had to acquire a small workshop they were doing textile for banners and promotional banners and so on in the western of Poland. And at the beginning, we just concentrated on the acquisition of this workshop. And then they see the market in Poland, and they decided to move on with the sales of their products, of their solution in Poland and in Eastern Europe after that, through their manufacturing operation in Poland, which gives a competitive advantage on the market. And this is also very very important. I think that's it. I was trying to be as on time as possible, because I see the time is running, so I will not obviously speak more than that in order to give time for the Q&A questions. It's obviously quite challenging to present all the different scenarios for manufacturing, depending on which industry you are and which countries and so on. But it gives you an insight, hopefully, to the manufacturing and sourcing environment in Eastern Europe. More than happy to answer any questions or any remarks. Yeah, thank you very much.
So, since nobody can speak, I guess, apart from me, thank you, Cédric, also in the name of everybody. So please, if you have a question, also Louis, maybe. I have a question, and Louis, go ahead, please.
No, in fact, I have two questions, but Oliver, you can ask your question obviously before, but.
That enough? Well, actually, I have a question.
I have the question, do you see in
Yeah, go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Cédric, for this very motivating presentation. My first question is, do you see in the region movements of industry? I remember in the beginning, a lot of industries in the IT was moving to Hungary in the early 90s, and then it moved more to Romania. And I feel that there are some industries that are quicker moving from a region to another, or eventually leaving the region because other places would be more attractive. And the second question is, when reconstruction and Ukraine opening will come, when the war will be settled, will a part of the companies that are in Central Europe today move to Ukraine, in your opinion?
Well, thanks, Luis. For first question, the move. Yeah, the move is always here. It's been here historically, and it's always here. I mean, you had some when I arrived in Poland 20 years ago. You still have the bit of textile in Poland, and then it moved more to Romania, to Bulgaria, and then to Asia, and so on. So this smooth existing. We see a big trend, obviously. Actually, currently, the automotive industry is not in a very good situation, and it's a strong industry in many of these countries. So Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, even Serbia, and so on. So we see a move now to more electric vehicles and batteries. So when big industries like traditional automotive was very present with the big market players having their factory and operation in these countries, now we mostly see LGs with a gigafactory in Poland. We see Hungary also with electric batteries and vehicles and so on. So we have regularly some changes, and depending on the strategy of each country and the politics and so on, what focus they want to put. IT is a bit a different topic because IT relies a lot on people and where you have available labor and more than manufacturing probably. So it's a bit different story because it's moving very very rapidly. At the moment, we still see some investment in IT, obviously in the region of Romania, Hungary, but also still have a lot of IT and BPOs in Poland and Czech Republic. So yeah, we have regular move like this, but it's not so I would say so rapid. It switch step by step and moving to other new industries, new generation of industries. For example, in Poland at the moment, they speak about space industry. They want to invest a lot in space industry, so it's something quite new also. That's where we see some moves here. So I don't know if it answered directly your question, but yeah, we see some movement from one industry to another, but that's not from one day to another they're closing everything and they're opening a new one. That's a swift switch, I would say. And regarding your question on Ukraine, well, that's there are already quite a few companies that are positioned from Central Eastern Europe to this Ukrainian market. The thing is, it's like a bit everywhere in business. It's uncertainty. So you definitely there will be opportunities for companies that are located in Eastern Europe. If you put some operation in Eastern Europe, you probably might have sometimes easier access to Ukraine and potential reconstruction process. But still, there is uncertainty for quite a long time now. I've been involved with this reconstruction of Ukraine for 3 years now because we have this big event in Poland about Rebuild Ukraine, and they speak about that for a long time. But at the moment, the defense and a bit of energy sector is concerned. For the others, it's a bit longer term. And for sure, I think the main thing would be, I don't think the impact would be so important for the SMEs located in Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, and so on, because still the biggest project and contract will be dominated by US or whatever. It depends on the outcome of the war, I would say, but US, UK, maybe EU, depending on who will have the part of the cake. And then it will follow with the small companies from these countries. So yeah, I can anticipate that I'm not sure all the SMEs will have access to that, but yeah, that's very uncertain at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cédric.
Great. So I also have 2 questions. Louis has 2 questions. I have 2 questions. Anyway, so we officially end this, but I really wanted to ask you this. Super. We go to Claudio. Here we go. Claudio has a question. Where do you get your information regarding available suppliers or subcontractors from a specific country? So Claudio, to give you background, he's the trade or economic specialist from the Embassy of Romania. So he's interested to help with RFP, RFQs, etc.
Yeah, it's that's thank you for this question. That's what I mentioned. That's all our work for the last 20 years, I'd say. So we obviously built a network of contacts, what we call multipliers, from clusters, associations, export agencies also in each country, our local partners and consultants in each country. There are in some countries you have more matured clusters and associations. For example, in Poland we have a big association of aerospace companies in the south of Poland, which is very dynamic. If we go to some areas in Slovakia, we have the export agency that provides some information. Sometimes we have the clusters in other regions. So it's a mix of our networks and it's a mix of our networks, our own database that we created for many years, our own project, and animating our multipliers and contacts on site.
Very good, Claudia. I mean, you guys, you can hook up somehow. We are both very often at our events, so or I can also link you to. So my two questions would be, how has tying a little bit my personal interest in artificial intelligence into your business of sourcing? Now, now one people could say, AI is going to solve everything. Now, why is the supplier, I mean, you mentioned it, of course, because not everything, all data is available, but thinking about how you can maybe use those technologies in a way that, you could do, I don't know, a multi-agent framework and you let those guys run around and find you things and you go and have a beer in lovely Krakow and come back in the morning and everything is solved. I mean, exaggerate. The first question, how do you see the impact on your business by AI, how you use it? And the second question to me is a little bit, the CEE days and many of the discussions that we have currently is about, of course, Switzerland has been hit by the Trump tariffs, and now production somehow needs to find new ways. They could move to the EU, to your area, but they could also say, giving in this blackmailing and real pressure. And like the big pharma guys have said, they're going to have increased production in the US. Now, how do you see this in general? Of course, we always talk about from the Swiss perspective, the nearshoring, not everybody wants to be in China. Is China really our friend? All the things you said, it's further away, all those costs and sustainability, etc. So we see definitely a nearshoring element. But what about the effect of now Trump really blackmailing people to come to the US and produce there? Do you see this a little bit that people tend to also maybe leave Central Eastern Europe to go to the US or leave Western Europe to go to the US instead of Central Eastern Europe?
Okay, first question, maybe the AI. We internally, we obviously, I think as most of the company, we try to follow up and to initiate some solutions to increase productivity, performance, analysis, especially in our countries where level of information is often lacking. But a lot of AI relies on data available, and again, since the data is not really available, then you don't really have efficient AI solutions. At the moment, we didn't find, there are different steps. What I mentioned earlier, the most productive way to use AI at the moment for us is to deliver reports and criteria and so on. But when it comes to identifying the right suppliers, qualifying them, as I said, databases are different from one country to another. Level of information for one company is different from one to another. So AI tools able to collect all the data from all the suppliers from one specific project, and then bring us the top 2, 3, 5 suppliers that really fit the criteria. At the moment, I don't see that. Maybe it will come, but since, again, as I said, you don't have specific databases, you don't have the same way to treat the data from one country to another. And there are some data that you can only get when you meet the companies or when you are the factory. And that's, I will give you another example from Maped, which is one of the, you probably know them, the school furniture, worldwide, a French company. We did some manufacturing operation for them in Eastern Europe. And from our network, we identify, I think it was 12 of 13 companies in Eastern Europe. We identify the right hotspot, where it should be, this and that. We even had North Africa to compare, to benchmark and so on. And we did a benchmark, we compare everything. And at some stage, we came to have a short list of 3 or 4 companies in Romania and in Bulgaria, which was the most attractive ones. Then we visited them. And when we visited them at the factory, we visit the factory and we see the possibility and so on. And within the discussion, these suppliers said, okay, I can do your products, but I will still be cheaper and I have too expensive. I have a factory in Tunisia with the same company, but they will produce in Tunisia. You will work with Romania, but we'll produce in Tunisia. And this type of information, AI will not be able to generate that. And that's very difficult. I think it's still human assessment and discussion. So hopefully we can optimize some processes. Ideally, if we could have, a long list of at least suppliers that work in this industry through AI, that would be good. But at the moment, it's quite difficult. I don't see it. Hopefully, maybe there will be some new options, hopefully, but I don't see how we can optimize many things in AI for the identification and qualification process. It's a bit different.
Cool.
Sorry?
Yeah, I think that it's good. It's good that you're in an industry that,
you were asking the second question about.
Also, we have Claudio asking a little bit the same question. Do you see Swiss companies move to the EU to avoid US tariffs? I just wanted to also mention this.
Yeah, we see this move. Actually, last week we were discussing with Bartek, with one of his, actually, someone he knows, and he's based in Switzerland, actually. A company that's source and manufacturing in China for many, many years, and in Malaysia also. And they actually have this Malaysian operation to avoid this China tariff, but now Malaysia has also higher tariffs. And they are thinking about Eastern Europe as an alternative because again, it's more secure and it's more regional. And what we see, I think I think what's happening now is more and more we come to the conclusion that you need to have regional operation. I think if you want to serve the European market, you probably need to have manufacturing and as much supply chain as you can in Europe. And the same for Asia. If you want to sell to Asia, you need to have your supply chain in Asia. If you want to sell to US, you need to have probably your base in US or maybe Mexico or whatever. And that's what we see here. The long trade might be more and more questionable by many companies, and I think a lot of big market players, they want to have as shorter as possible supply chain in their region to secure everything. And we see indeed some companies saying, okay, I was thinking about having a factory in Asia. Now, no, I will go have it in Eastern Europe because it's too risky to go to Asia. And the same with US. On the other way around, we work quite a lot with the aerospace industry here in Poland. We do a lot of projects with them, and we work with US actually and them. And until now, the US companies were coming to Poland to work with the Polish manufacturers, and they have a big operation in the southeast of Poland, Pratt & Whitney, Goodrich, so on. They have all the operations here. And now the subcontractors of the US factory, of the Polish factory of the US big market players who works in Poland, they are thinking, hey, if I can deliver my products to their factory in Poland, why could I not deliver to them in their home country? They are thinking about investing in US for that and to deliver US for that. So it's switching, and I think it's regionalizing. I think that's the key probably for me.
Cool. I mean, My word, it's really cool. You know, many of you that know me, I used to be the head of Europe at the Switzerland Global Enterprise. And already like 15, 10, 12 years ago, I said, you know, I see this exactly happening. You know, you sell, source, invest, do research regionally. And now, of course, the regionally description of the US has changed a bit, because in the old days you would have said, yeah, you go to Mexico and then you produce for the US. But now that doesn't work anymore with Trump. And anyway, it's crazy times. And we have one last question here. My question would be how to see wider ramifications of the announced European armaments industry investments for the economic sectors and activities in the CEE region. Labor availability, costs, logistics challenges. What are the first impressions from your counterparts on the ground, given the systemic nature of this change? So basically moving, you know, opting or pushing arm deals and production, etc.
Yeah, we see definitely quite a move here for many clients that had defense sector as a very small or not existing activity, and now they want to develop that. So definitely we see this move, and we see that that local companies, so Polish, Romanian, whatever, they are also much more solicited for this type of activity. I don't think, I don't know about that, but I don't think at the moment it takes all the, you know, labors and costs and logistic and so on challenges for the other sectors. It's still it's an opportunity for them to grow their activity in this sector. And there's quite a lot of investment from many countries in this area. So I don't know if I understand the question well, but at the moment, I don't see it would create a shortage of labor or a shortage of higher logistic costs or challenges and so on. Wider education announcement. Yeah, no, I mean,
No, I think that answers the question.
I mean, I'm trying to reread this question, but yeah, I think again I try to answer this way. But I think for the moment we definitely see a move where a lot of countries at the country level and then companies tend to move to this supply chain of defense and armaments. And at the moment, it creates quite some opportunities here. I don't think for the moment we have a shortage of that, but yeah, that's indeed a challenge for them to. We have one company. We have them for many years. They are stocking some aluminium and titan for medical and healthcare and defense industry and aerospace. And they were 3-5 years ago, there was almost no demand for defense and so on. And now they see the factories in Poland, they all need a lot of titan, a lot of products, raw materials for that. So yeah, there is maybe there will start to be a shortage at some stage or something. At the moment, it's okay, but it's a challenge indeed, yeah, for many countries that's lacked of these industries for many years. Yeah.
Cool. Right, so Bartolomeo, you want to add to this, or otherwise I will.
Yes, thank you, Oliver. I just wanted to add one thing. The previous question about the thing that are the Swiss companies willing to move their production to Eastern Europe? My answer would be not really move, but add. I mean, they would still have their production where they had it. So I mean, for example, in Asia. But they would add a production site or a supplier in Central or Eastern Europe due to several reasons. For example, reactivity and to, like Cédric said earlier, to be capable to react very fast to their European demands to the clients they need to be not so far away from the client. So even for logistic way to be able to answer and to deliver the goods faster, they are willing to have their operation, a new operation added in Central or Eastern Europe. So very basically, for example, our clients, our Swiss clients, also they are, for example, manufacturing cereal production still in Asia or in other countries where, let's say, their operations are ongoing for cereal production, but for more tailor-made or products that are more single or middle series. Of production, they are willing to add a new supplier or a new factory nearby. So nearby Swiss, nearby France, so in Europe. So this is one of the topics that we are facing more and more on this type of project, where our clients are willing to add a new shop, let's say, a new factory nearby in Europe, but still keeping the old one where you have the cereal production, for example, in Asia.
Okay, good. All right, so I think for us as a chamber, we always say, to source in Central Eastern Europe, where we talk about the term friendshoring, we talk about nearshoring, we talk about sustainability in services, in industrial good, sourcing. This is a big topic for us, and we're happy that we have you, Cédric and Bartolomé, as our partners. And so I wish, I guess, everybody now a well-deserved lunch. And thank you again for all this expertise. And one maybe last sentence that comes up to me very spontaneously. Some people might know that, the way we position our Chamber of Commerce is really to create what we call the SEC community, what I describe usually as a group of very engaged and savvy and motivated people, institutions and organizations. And we kind of curate this as a Chamber of Commerce. But in fact, if you want to make this come alive, you need to know each other. And I think it's great to know that we have somebody like Cédric and Valians here, and connect with him and connect with other members. And then I think our goal is really that this network helps everybody that is in the network to be more successful in whatever they want to achieve by having access to these great talents. So that's a little bit what we are trying to do, and I think this webinars where we showcase some of the leaders and know-how leaders that we have in our organization is actually a very good way to enable new contacts as well. Because I see some of you will connect anyway after this, so this is great. This is what we want to do. So
thank you very much for this initiative, Oliver. I think it's very unique way to keep this chamber active and to keep this useful contact. Thank you again to you and Luis for this initiative. And again, we have a lot of collaboration. If some of you even want to reach out to us for the company that the Swiss company that we've been supporting through these sourcing services, they would be happy to discuss probably with you and to testify of their experience. So yeah, good. Thank you again for that, Oliver and Luis and Irena.
Thanks a lot for your professional presentation, Cédric.
Super. Enjoy your lunch.